I'll go down the line here and ask folks to introduce themselves and their write-ups. Bill?
Okay. Hello, my name's Bill Bornshine. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. And what exactly? Okay, so at any rate, I have a couple of handouts. One just sort of talks about what it is that I do. I teach high school in Louisville, Kentucky, and I try to present Ernest Becker in 4 different classes, in a comparative world religions class, an intro to psychology class, a intro to philosophy class, and then a theology class called Christian Lifestyle. And in each of those, I have somewhat of a different tact. My overall approach is what I call the bloodhound approach, where I just try to pique their interest. And as a high school teacher, I can't do the depth. I don't have a whole semester to work with Ernest Becker, but I try to get them interested so that when they go to college and they hear that name the second time, hey, that's the second time I've heard about Becker. They'll look a little bit deeper. I'm on the back of this sheet, I have some suggestions for presenting Becker to teens, and this is just something I pieced together. I'm very much interested in processing Becker in cemeteries. I like to work in cemeteries. I'm lucky enough at a Catholic high school, we have a cemetery right there for the brothers that have passed, and we can go out into the cemetery and do processing out there, out in nature, out in the environment. We can watch birds while we're out there. But I have this handout which has pictures of some of the cemetery work, and then on the back side, what I call cemetery exercises. And then I've also started this what I call the Heroism Project, where I am interested in how our school has kind of 2 different messages. One is, as a Catholic school, Christian school, the Christian ideals, the altruism, but it's also very successful, and the kids get mixed messages of success, I think. So I have them run around the school with little disposable cameras and take pictures of the school and, what is this school about? And then we break those pictures down and look for heroism. In other words, what are the messages, of what we should be like? So in a nutshell, that's what I do.
Hi, everyone. My name is Mike Tells. I teach English to 10th graders in Gloucester, Massachusetts, just north of Boston. And it's been great to meet everybody. I guess the best way to put what I'll just want to let you know what I'm up against. I don't teach. I don't teach Becker programmatically, although it underpins everything that we discuss, that I discuss with the kids, and it means a lot to me. But the situation that I found myself in is this: I'm in a school that's sort of overhauling their curriculum right now, and they're trying to, when I came, they just handed me a pile of books and said, do what you can with these, and good luck, and that I spent 2 years trying to figure out what the heck to do, and eventually, Becker's been a really big help in keeping me focused on what's important in what I think is important in the literature, but right now, I'm sort of coming up against curriculum directors that, the language that they use, really just, they want results, they want a product. It really comes down to helping the kids be competitive. How can I put it? They need to see, the words that they use, they need to see measurable results. And talking about the human condition in an environment where people want results doesn't work, it's hard to communicate the importance of that to an educational bureaucrat, so I'm in a unique position where I'm trying to defend what I see as vital, and I'm sure everyone here sees as vital in the arts, especially in literature, in an environment that has trouble accommodating that. So if anyone is interested in talking with me, I'd like to talk about, I think creative writing is one way of helping the kids get involved, or to sort of self-reflect about some of their own limitations and so some of their character armor, as Becker would call it, and reflective and personal writing, which makes makes an educational bureaucrat a little uncomfortable, but I think really gets to what the kids respond to and what motivates them, and motivates them to read in the books. And I found that Becker really actually, like I said in my piece, seems to almost give them a sense of relief. At first it's shocking for them. They seem really, they look at me like, you're not supposed to be talking about death. You know what I mean? Didn't anyone tell you that that's not okay? And, and they look at me really with alarm, and usually it runs one of two ways. They either rebel against it, or they just unload. I even had a student start crying, in some sort. She almost felt like some sort of relief talking about some of the ideas and things like that. So I think I'm in a unique position right now as a teacher, defending what I feel is important, and trying to communicate with the bureaucrats, which I think, the thing that I have to keep in mind too is that, standards are important, and, the kids need to leave high school with a set of skills that they can use, and a way of dealing with the world. And so I'm not throwing standards out the window, but when it comes down to it, I just feel like I need to defend something that's vital, and Becker has his finger right on that pulse. So that's my situation, and thank you.
Is that working? I rarely teach at the high school level, and however, these are the folks at the vanguard of humanity, to the extent that Becker's ideas will be parlayed into personal transformation or constructive action. I think in the long run, the younger, the better. By the time folks get to college, I think we can do some good, maybe do no harm, but it can, I think, I don't think what we do at the university level is insignificant, but I've been repeatedly impressed by the folks that are actually in the trenches, that actually teaching folks. I teach 8 hours a week, and that's a lot by college standards. These guys teach like 8 hours a day, see infinitely greater numbers of folks, and so I applaud the efforts of the stalwarts that actually put these ideas into action. Neil and I go way back, as some of you know, to like the first month or so of the existence of the foundation. And when I met Neil, I was like, this guy's crazy. He actually, yeah, well, me too, but Neil was like, I was like, this guy's crazy. He actually wants to help people, and he has this crazy idea that we should disseminate these ideas as broadly as possible. And one of the things that has always made me fond of the Becker Foundation, whether or not it's Don Quixote-esque or not, was just this notion that, like Johnny Appleseed, if we just go around and toss out ideas, maybe they'll take hold in different places. And one of my favorite years back in the last century, I could say that, no, in the last millennium, when Father Time and I first got together, back in the last millennium, that sounded great. Anyway, a millennium ago, Neil and I...
Father Time sounds great, too.
Yeah, Father Time. Anyway, Neil remembers this. We always laugh about it. We went to talk to the PhD program in experimental social psychology at the University of Washington, and did not go well. Within 30 seconds, people were just obviously disgusted and hostile and angry, and so, all right, we're like, okay, that didn't go too well. But then we got an opportunity to come to Mercer Island High School, and this was one of the first times that I got to talk to high school students. I've talked to groups as young as 6th grade, all the way through high school students, and it was a tremendous opportunity. And like you've already heard, the death is not the first word out of my mouth when we talk to high school students about this. We actually it doesn't come up until the last sentence of the second talk that I did at Mercer Island. We talk about the nature of self and the nature of self-esteem, and only at the end of 2 hours on 2 different days do we get into what would be the central conceptual hub of the matter. I guess my point is that I've found those experiences to be tremendously uplifting. I think that the youth take to these ideas readily, perhaps too readily, and that we need to be aware of that. But I do think it's fantastic. And I have one story, because I haven't seen you, Bill, in a while. But in June, I was in the Chicago airport, apparently asleep, like this, just like this. And some guy like hits me on the head. And he's like, you know, you remind me of somebody. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not Bon Jovi. And they're like, no, no, you were in this film, Flight from Death. Anyway, it was one of Bill's students on his way to Vancouver. I can't remember his name, but a UK-bound student. But more importantly, we then proceeded to have like an hour-long conversation where this youngster, you know, a high school senior, just was so eloquent and so thoughtful and so grateful for having had the opportunity to ponder those ideas at such an early age. And I'm going to turn this back over to Neil, because one of the things that I found most uplifting, not that my being uplifted matters, but can you tell folks about the letter that you got years later from the Mercer Island kid? Because I thought that is telling.
Right. When Sheldon did his talk at Mercer Island, at this group of kids, they all went like this. They all had their heads down into the desks, and he couldn't get a rise out of them with his jokes. Yeah. And I thought, oh, this is a total disaster. And
I've been there. I know exactly where
and actually, he did it twice. We had the same class. This was when they were juniors, and when they were seniors, he came back a year later, and he did the part 2 of his talk, and it got a much better response that time. And about 2 years or 3 years later, I got a letter from one of these kids saying how much he appreciated that and how much better college was than he ever would have thought it could be with him having had this preparation back in the Mercer Island High School with this dude, Sheldon.